There is no complete Quran with 114 surahs from the first century of Islam. That means for 100 years after the Prophet, we don't have a single copy of a Quran. That's a big deal. Now I want to take it even further. We can almost say that for the first 200 years of Islam, there is not a single copy that contains all 114 surahs. For example, the manuscript in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, has 40 surahs. The old manuscript in the London Museum also has 40 surahs. The Topkapi Manuscript is almost complete, but even that one is not 100% complete, and it contains different handwritings, meaning it wasn't all written at the same time. Why is there not a single complete copy, or even a single copy of the Quran from the first century?
The Topkapi Quran is a written manuscript from the 1st century AH, from the time of the Caliphate of Uthman ibn Affan, which is kept in the Topkapi Museum in Turkey. It contains 114 surahs and is identical to today's Quran, word for word. There is not a single word missing or added. Only a few of its pages have been damaged over time. Professor Gerhard Schoeler, a renowned Swiss Orientalist and researcher, states in his book Oral and Written Tradition in Islam that the Topkapi Quran is a complete copy of the Quran compiled during the Caliphate of the third Muslim Caliph and is entirely consistent with the modern Quran, the Samarkand Quran, the Sana'a Quran, the Birmingham Quran. All of these manuscripts are exactly the same as the Quran that Muslims have today, but over time they have suffered damage, and in some of the manuscripts only parts of them have survived. The fact that only a portion remains in some copies does not mean that the entire Quran is incomplete. And the important point is that in all of these manuscripts, the order of the surahs and verses is exactly the same. If the Quran had not been complete in the first 200 years, then differences between versions should have been common, just like the Torah and the Bible, which have several versions with significant differences. But wherever in the world you open the Quran, the first verse of Surah Al-Baqarah says Alif Lam Mim, and the last verse of Surah An-Nas says Min al-Jinnati wan-Nas, and no version of the Quran has ever been discovered with different content. Is it logical that a text which supposedly didn't exist for 200 years would now be identical, word for word, all over the world? François Déroche, in his book Analysis of Quranic Manuscripts, says that the text of the Quran was recorded from the 1st century of Hijrah, and the earliest manuscripts do not differ from the text we have today. David Thomas, emeritus professor at the University of Birmingham, states in his book The Bible and the Quran that historical evidence and ancient manuscripts show that the Quran Muslims have today is the same Quran that was presented by the Prophet of Islam in the early centuries. So when a copy of the Quran from 1400 years ago is exactly the same as today's Quran, the claim that the Quran is incomplete is nothing but a publicity stunt. The judgment is yours.